Welcome to episode 6 of Battle Games in Middle-earth. I'm Mike from Hobbyit, and in this series we'll be tackling the 91 magazines released by Games Workshop to coincide with the Lord of the Rings movies. In the Modelling Workshop we'll be making up some runes. In Painting Workshop we tackle another member of the Fellowship with Aragorn. In Battle Games we play Defend the Runes. It's an interesting idea. The Uruk-hai are trying to search and find the entrance to the glittering caves during the Battle of Helm's Deep. If you want to join me and flip through the full magazine, I've put a 90-second flip at the end of this episode.
We start off by painting all of Aragorn's chainmail in a base coat of lead belcher. His sword also gets a coating of lead belcher. I've mixed up a range of browns to use for Aragorn's leather jerkin. I start with the darkest shade that I mixed up and give all the leather parts that I want to be this colour a base coat. So that's his jerkin, his boots and wrist guards. I'm using a short stabbing motion to highlight up the leather. This creates a really nice worn leather texture. Like this is Aragorn's daily wear and it's been damaged by brushing against trees and lightened due to hitting the sun on his long daily treks across Middle-earth. Aragorn wears a nice red undershirt in this scene and it creates a really nice punch of colour. Mixing up some skin tones, I start by applying the darkest shade. And applying smaller and smaller highlights to the nose and forehead and top of the cheeks. Finishing up with the brightest shade, applied very small to just the highest points. I mix up a different shade of brown for the belt, scabbard and the ties around his boots. I adjust the same shade very slightly for his hair and try to just hit the edges, keeping a lot of the black undercoat and then apply a really thin wash all over to tint the black into a dark brown. Adding in some white for a final highlight. For the trousers, I add just a very simple highlight of dark grey with a little blue mixed in. And I apply the same hair colour onto his beard. Finally, I touch up all the additional metal parts with lead belcher. I add a very simple basing and Aragorn is ready for the battlefield.
Ruined buildings make excellent objectives and really interesting focal points for our battle games. In this one we'll be making up a mixture of different types of ruins.
Let's get started with the simplest version, which is printing out, sticking the designs onto cardboard, cutting and gluing them together. This really can be done by anyone. You need a printer, some cardboard, a glue stick and some scissors. These foam ruins are super simple and a great project for beginners. I've created 3 different designs that you can follow as a guide, or let your creativity run free and make something completely different. To show the full texturing and painting process, we'll create a stone texture and paint up a simple square of stone wall. If you don't have a hot wire cutter, score a line with a craft knife, cut the knife in, you don't have to go very deep, a few millimeters should do. Take something smooth and rounded. I'm using some tweezers that come with a protective cover. Just drag whatever you choose through each of the scored marks. Grab a rock with some good texture and start to hit the foam. Use a few harder hits to create some much deeper impressions. For the first layer of paint we want a dark, almost black grey. Using a cheap makeup brush, apply some paint. Start to gently apply it all over your ruins. Now we know how to make stones and paint them, it's now a matter of following the template and cutting out your shapes. Before painting, I'm going to glue them together. Glue the walls together and glue the walls onto the base. Once we are all stuck together, we follow the same paint recipe as earlier. Dark grey first, followed by a dry brush of a lighter grey. For the base, I'm using earth texture paste. Apply some Mod Podge to the edges and then sprinkle some of the flock into the Mod Podge. I let it sit for just a few minutes and remove the excess flock. If you'd like some additional details, I've added some grass tufts. I find these grass tufts look great, but they can get in the way of your standing models, so I only apply a few. Here you can see all the pieces. I fit 3 different runes onto 2 pieces of A4 3mm MDF. I use a little superglue to stick everything together. I bought some filler, this tub was only £1 and there's enough to cover a lot of terrain. I load up a cheap brush with filler and slap it on all over. Once I get some onto an area, I stipple the brush to remove the brush strokes and create a stone-like texture. I mix up a dark grey using some Vallejo black and white. Using Ultharian grey and a dry brush technique, lightly dry brush all over using a cheap makeup brush. No need to use your nice brushes on terrain like this. Applying some Mod Podge all around the edges and leaving the middle clear, I then apply some static grass with my applicator. As an optional step, apply a coat of matte varnish. It not only gives it a matte finish, but also a little layer of protection. In Magazine 6 we are playing Defend the Ruins, a scenario where we look at what might have happened if the Uruk-hai knew of a secret entrance into the Glittering Caves during the Battle of Helm's Deep. During the siege, the women and children seek refuge within the Glittering Caves. Let's see what might have occurred if Grima Wormtongue had informed Saruman of a hidden entrance, and some Uruk-hai had been dispatched to find it. Can Aragorn prevent the Uruk-hai from swarming in? We play on a 3-foot by 3-foot battlefield, with 6 ruins to act as the potential hidden entrances. We place 5 Uruk-hai on one side of the board and Aragorn in the centre. Aragorn does not have his bow in this scenario, but he does have a chainmail shirt from the armoury at Helm's Deep, adding +1 to his defence. The Uruk-hai are all equipped with shields that provide them with +1 defence. The game only lasts for 10 turns and the Uruk-hai need to find the entrance and get as many of their allies inside as possible. If only one enters, good wins. 2 to 3 and it's a draw. If they get 4 or 5, evil win. To attempt to find the secret entrance, an Uruk-hai must be on a ruin and not in combat. They can then roll a dice. If the result is a 6, they have found the entrance and can enter the caves. If they don't roll a 6 by the time they are searching the last ruin, they automatically roll a 6 and find the entrance.
Another magazine completed. I really enjoyed doing the MDF ruins. It's probably something I'll do a lot more of that in the future. I make up a box for Aragorn, add him to my collection. In the next episode we play Repel the Marauders. We paint up some warriors of Rohan and we make some walls and fences in Modelling Workshop. And if you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Consider liking, subscribing, maybe leave me a comment below. Love to see all your comments and love to read them. I'm going to put the 90-second flip after this, so if you want to look at the whole magazine, stay with me for another 90 seconds.